Well, Trudeau's up to his old tricks again. It's not just his old tricks, is it? It's his one trick. It's his only trick. Now, here's the headline. Pierre Poilievre shreds desperate Trudeau after PM calls Canadians. Can you guess? Can you guess what he's called the people who don't like him? That's right, racists. They must be. And we've got Poilievre's video coming up in just a minute. But first, why is Trudeau so desperate? Well, the polling isn't looking very good for him these days, and I can't imagine it's going to get much better over time. You know, the original criticisms of him were that he was, all style, no substance. I think now it's no style, no substance. And it's not just dyed-in-the-wool conservatives that are noticing this. Yeah, and so the federal conservatives are up 7 points over the Liberals to start 2023. That makes Trudeau nervous, and the only thing he knows how to do is then just lash out and call everybody racist or misogynist or something. In fact, let's go through some of his greatest hits here. Here, Canadians who protested him are racist and misogynistic and anti-vaxxer mobs. Let's hear.
Those protesters I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs.
The disdain in his voice. We have never had a leader like Justin Trudeau, somebody who's that sneering, who's that contemptuous of his political opponents. I mean, he's a disgrace, isn't he? Oh, and of course, we remember in the run-up to the last election, in French, he called the unvaccinated extremist, misogynist, racist, the usual. Here he is again in full tyrant mode.
You deserve a government that's going to continue to say, get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
And keep in mind, while he was saying that, he must have known that the jab didn't prevent transmission, didn't prevent you from getting it or giving it to somebody else. He must have known that. And it shows you here, he picked up something in his time as a part-time drama teacher. And that brings us to his most recent statements. In an interview with the Toronto Star, Trudeau accused his opponents of being racist, saying this about Pierre Poilievre, who's the leader of the opposition. Quote, "What is he actually proposing? He's saying everything's broken. He's playing and preying on the kinds of anger and anxieties about some Canada that used to be, where men were men and white men ruled." Oh, you know what? Excuse me, Justin Trudeau. Can't help but noticing that you just so happen to be a white man, and you just happen to be the Prime Minister of the country. And by the way, I've never seen Pierre Poilievre with blackface on. In fact, neither I nor anybody I know or have ever known in my life have never been inspired to put black shoe polish on our faces. Multiple times, like you, Justin Trudeau. It's really just too much, and as it says in the article here, which is from SpencerFernando.com, it's disgusting. It says, with inflation robbing Canadians of their purchasing power, debt skyrocketing, social services crumbling, and an entire generation being priced out of the housing market, Trudeau expects us to believe everything is just great, and only racists could be opposed to him. It's absolutely pathetic. I agree, it is pathetic. Let's see what Poilievre had to say about it.
Hey, Justin, I see that you're desperate again. You know how I know? Because when you get desperate, you divide and distract. And that's what you did today. I read in the Liberal pamphlet, the Toronto Star, that you claim the reason you're so unpopular with Canadians is because Canadians are racist. This from a guy who dressed up in racist costumes so many times, he can't even remember them all. Really, Justin, you can't remember how many times you dressed up in racist costumes? This from a guy who fired the first Indigenous female Attorney General. Why? Because she refused to help you get your corporate friends off of criminal charges after they stole $100 million from Africa's poorest people. This from a guy whose own MPs, Liberal MPs, Justin, said that you mistreated them so badly that they actually had to leave caucus. That's your ugly, racist past. You're in no position to be calling anyone else racist, but we know why you're doing it. You want to distract. You want people to be afraid. Because if people are afraid of their neighbor, they might forget that they can't afford their rent. If they're afraid of their fellow Canadians, they might forget that under your watch we have 40-year highs in inflation. People can't afford to eat, that there are 1.5 million people going to food banks every single month, that food banks have had people ask them for help in committing suicide because life has become so miserable under your watch, that you want people to forget, to be fearful so that they forget that crime has gone up. So what have you done? You've tried to make people afraid of hunters by saying that it's Indigenous and rural people who are hunting that are causing all of the inner city crime and not the many repeat violent offenders that you're releasing into the street. You want people to be afraid so that they forget that this is the chaos. This is the chaos we have at our airports. By the way, Justin, I'm able to record this message right now because my flight is late. Of course it's late. Flights are always late since you became Prime Minister. The federal government is responsible for air transportation. Yes, that's you, my friend. And you don't want people to remember that you have failed in all of these areas, so you divide to distract. Well, we're not going to let you do that anymore. We're going to point out that these failings are your failings. They are not the failings of the Canadian people. In fact, the Canadian people want us to turn the hurt you've caused into the hope that they need, and that is what I am going to do. We're going to make this a country that rewards work again, where the dollar has purchasing power, where planes actually take off on time, and where our streets are safe. That is the hope that is going to unify us, and unity is what we need. Instead of your divide and distract, we will unite for hope. Now, I got a plane to catch.
Well, that's it. I'm sold. That was perfect. There is nothing I can add to that. So please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.